Well, welcome to a new episode of AW Confidential. The beauty industry is raking in billions. I know I've contributed quite a bit to that number or to those billions. In 2023, Sephora reported record growth. We're well into 2024, and the beauty giant is well in the green. Another beauty giant, ELF, surpassed Wall Street's estimate. So we are spending money, but there's so many products, not enough time, and not enough in our budget to try them all. So when we find something that works, at least for me, I tend to stick with it for a while until it no longer serves my skin. We want to look younger and feel beautiful, and we're willing to spend a lot on maintaining that. Millions are willing and able to afford going under the knife, but not all of us can do that. While others, even if they can afford it, prefer a less invasive way to get their glow on or just feel more youthful. Founder and CEO of SBLA Beauty, Randi Shinder, is the name behind one of the hottest beauty products today. FYI, I have been using it. I absolutely love it. The SBLA Beauty Liquid Facelift Eye Wand, Neck and Chin Jawline Sculpting Wand, and Lip and Plump Sculpt have been featured in Vogue, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, Today Show, Live with Kelly and Mark, and so many other platforms. We are singing her praises for this amazing product. It, I will describe it, but Randy will do a better job. It's basically a pump, and every pump has a precise amount that it releases of an anti aging solution to help our skin rejuvenate. And the awesome thing about this product is that the solution has one of my favorite ingredients, hyaluronic acid, complex peptide blends with amino acid. Wow. Recipe for beautiful skin. Randy is with us today to share a little bit about this product and talk to us a little more in depth about how she came to this to this genius. I love this. I'm telling you. Randy, welcome. Congratulations and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Yvette, and thank you for that lovely introduction. And I'm so glad you're using the products.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, in 2002, and correct me if I'm wrong on the timing, I'll just brief it because it's a lot. In 2002, you launched Clean Perfume. Then you went on to um, Desert Beauty with Jessica Simpson. In 2005, you created Fusion Beauty, which was the first brand to surpass 50 million in sales at Sephora. In 2014, you helped launch I Smell Great with Sophia Bush and Michael is it Nyman?
Yes.
And then in 2018 enters the Magic Wand, which we love. Where do you come up with these great ideas? I mean, it's hard enough for people to get it right once, but you've done it repeatedly, which congratulations. It's an amazing, amazing wins. You seem to have a knack for choosing good projects. So I want to know a little bit about your inspiration, your purpose, and how do you come to these ideas before we even get to the ones?
Well, I mean, my background is in loyalty marketing before entering the beauty industry. However, I've always been a self-proclaimed beauty junkie. My passions are fragrance and always have been, even when I was a little girl. And um, after I launched Clean, I landed in the clinical arena with Fusion Beauty, which I've also developed a strong passion for. Right now, for me, history is repeating itself with a fragrance brand that's kind of not being my attention isn't on it because my marquee brand has become SBLA, and it's the brand that has shown the most growth and opportunity. So, which is exactly what happened when I launched Lip Fusion, which ultimately became Fusion Beauty. And at the time I had Clean Perfume, which I had to sort of direct my attention away from. I've always operated in the initial stages anyways, very lean and tight. But in terms of how and the why, I really love this industry. You know, in the past, it was about loyalty marketing for financial institutions, credit card vehicles, and I was founder of a .com, and Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake were shareholders of that. That was way back when. .com bust happened, and we'd been acquired. And when my shares became unrestricted, they didn't really have much value. And instead of worrying about that, I actually decided to create a perfume. And people, I thought, well, I mean, my family thought I was a little bit crazy, but that's okay. I really, even though I had an obsession with perfume, I really didn't wear perfume. And I can't explain to anybody why that is. It's just, I'm very, very sensitive to fragrance. And the olfactory sense is the closest to your brain. So you either love something or you don't. Um, with regards to why Clean was created, I wanted to create something universal. I wanted to fill a void, and that's how I started to approach each brand. Where is there a void in the industry that I can fill? Ultimately, Clean Perfume created a new category on the fragrance wheel, which is something I learned through Michael Edwards, who's kind of like the fragrance guru of the world. And I don't know much about him these days. I've been, out of that part of the industry for quite some time, but he is or was Australian, and he used to update all of the fragrances and their notes and the Bible, the fragrance Bible that exists for the industry each and every year. I used to have fun conversations with him. And I literally carved a logo off a bar of soap and sent it to a perfume chemist who I spoke to some, and he and I just got along, and he had created a number of fragrances for Calvin Klein. And he talked to me about a process that he could do, which was extraction. And they have that bar of soap in a showcase in their waiting room to this day under a light. And because it's the initial fragrance for Clean Perfume, and I was invited to debut it at the Grammy Depot that year, which were being held in New York. The depot itself was being held in Times Square at the W Hotel, because the XL Spa was opening, the first of the XL Spas. And they put the bottles all over the place, and they were stock bottles with a dip tube showing and a screw-on cap and leaking bottles and clear labels. And I had no clue what I was doing. I had no cartons. I had no points of distribution. They gave me a step and repeat logo wall. This was all arranged by my former president of the ad agency that I'd worked with in the .com, as well as a PR person that she brought in, who I ended up working with on SBLA. So those relationships have been maintained. And I was sharing space with Rock and Republic Jeans. They were just launching as well. And all the presenters used to go to those depots at the time still. Like having that swag was still, pretty important. And people were scooping up bottles, and I was shopping later that day, and I got a call on my cell phone, my Motorola flip phone, saying that Stephen Cogliacoro, who at the time was the writer for the Style Watch column in People magazine, as well as the host of Entertainment Tonight, was writing about it in the first item in Style Watch. So it appeared in People, and I got thousands of emails. I literally threw up a web page. I captured people's email addresses, and I just said, it'll be coming soon, with a picture of the fragrance bottle. And I answered thousands of emails myself, just sitting at my desk at home, answering people. and I said it'll be available soon. I was having cartons made. The formula wasn't even finalized. I was finalizing the formula. I
Wow.
changed the labels. And I never had to call a buyer because people were running into stores and asking for Clean Perfume because of that little piece in Style Watch.
Wow.
And it was, so I was kind of like catapulted
A-
into the industry, and it was amazing. I actually wrote Stephen a letter. I'm Canadian born, so is he, in Montreal, both of us. If I look at my family tree lineage, somehow we're related. I don't really know how. But regardless, it was a very interesting time.
Well, and now you're, you're in Vogue and in Elle and,
Yeah,
SBLA Beauty, this wand is it's such a good product.
yeah. Well,
So I
there's so
and
many
I
little stories in between, but dessert. I ended up doing dessert beauty because Jessica's people called me as a result of the success of Clean. And so we did 33 SKUs together for launch. And that was the first brand to hit over $10 million at Sephora. And Sephora was rebuilding itself. And then along came the microsphere for Fusion. And that was just huge. It was just the lip plumper that sold, that was probably in the first year over $60 million at Sephora of a lip plumper. Their first order sold out in a day. It
and
got to,
how did
sorry, go
and
on.
I'm sorry to cut you off. And how did, because it's been an evolution of different products that you've created. How did you know, come up with SBLA Beauty? How does it work, and what sets it apart? In your I just want to, you are the genius behind it, so I just want to know because um it's a good product. I love it.
Well, the first, I wanted to launch the neck wand on a vertical. I thought that I would launch, and that's how Lip Fusion started, and then it became a brand. So when you launch something on a vertical and it explodes, like, I mean, literally, you do so much more business than you're intending. You realize that you can't just keep this single product on a vertical for too long. We launch everything on a vertical because everything has targeted technology in it. And we want the consumer to understand the brand very well because it's all direct to consumer right now. So the original neck wand launched in direct ad campaigns on Facebook. There was about a $3 million ad spend that resulted in $8.2 million of revenue. We ran out of inventory. So I think in our first 5 months, that was what happened. So we sold over $8.2 million and climbing very quickly. So, and that was just one single SKU launched on a vertical. And the reason why it was created is because I'm 57 years old. I'm
Okay.
Thanks. I eat my own cooking. So there you go. I mean, I haven't had any surgery or anything like that, and I do very little in
And your
terms of,
skin, I mean,
thank you.
it looks amazing. Okay.
So um I really, I think the neck area is it's the first area to show signs of aging along with your eyelids. It's the area that women, I think, complain about the most, those two areas. It's the thinnest skin on your body. And I felt that the neck was completely underserviced. As a matter of fact, I spent the day with a brand CEO, and I was using their neck cream, and I told him I'm using your neck cream, and he said, "Well, it's just a cream, it's just a lotion." And I said, "I realize that," and I thought to myself, I'm going to create something with technology in it that actually can actually address the area of the neck. So if people have necklace lines that are extremely deep, or they have jowls that are starting to protrude and bother them, what can I create that addresses it? I found the component We actually tool our own components now. So I took it and I actually started to tool our own because those were coming apart. They were really made of plastic originally. We tool our own components. They're airless, which is important to me in terms of keeping the raw materials healthy, safe, and active. And what it does is it creates a macrosphere. It's almost like a, a layer that you can't detect. However, it actually tricks your skin into behaving the way it did in its prime. Now, we start to lose collagen in our early 30s. And from there, aging begins. So, as an example, my daughter is 27. She uses the original neck wand as a preventative. So there is such a thing called tech neck. We're all looking down at our phones, our devices, and that ages the neck. And I think that women, as they age, they want a nice smooth neck. There's not much you can do for the neck. I mean, unless you're willing to go under the knife, unless you're willing to have all kinds of lasers and injections and whatever other invasive procedures there are available to you. And if you can afford it, and if you understand that it's not, I mean, it'll work for a while, but that's not a long-term solution. And I don't talk people in or out of anything. As a matter of fact, if people have ever had anything done to their necks, I would say to them, use the neck wand. It will only enhance and prolong the benefit of what you just did. So the technology is also described as biomimicking. So it's taking your own physiology essentially and biomimicking it. So it was a new technology. We described the technology to the consumer because we want the consumer to be educated about our products. One of the things I learned from my previous brands and working so closely with Sephora, not just as a merchant, but as a real partner. I mean, we really partnered because I'd had 3 very successful brands with them. I always say Sephora made a lot of money off my brands, but I made a lot of money from Sephora. Regardless of that, I had a very interesting and unusual relationship with them, one that I don't think could exist today for any brand. So really my head merchant essentially was at the time was the CEO of Sephora. We worked directly together, even though I had, of course, my merchant team. But I knew what they would want, and I knew what they would like. And that wasn't what directed my decisions. I decided to create whatever it was that I felt the industry was missing. There's now more brands than ever before, and that's one of the things you raised in your opening remarks, and that's the fact that, I mean, we're bombarded with brands, and a lot of them do the same thing. So
Absolutely.
what
And I think I think we are oversaturated because there's so many of us looking for that fountain of youth. We want to keep ourselves looking young and fresh for at least for as long as possible, right? And I think it's important that I ask because I feel like I have my own issues, just like so many of us do. How do you deal with aging? Because it's happening to all of us. How do you deal with it? Like, what's your perspective on getting older? Are you afraid of it? Do you find power in it, or you just try not to think about it too much?
Well, I think we all think about getting older. I think
Girl,
that,
I do all the time.
I mean, look, we all try to stay in shape. I eat super clean. That's just one of the things that I decided to do. I don't use clean skincare products. That's not a requirement for me. I mean, everybody is different. I have my own reasons for that. I don't necessarily, I mean, there are some brands that I do like that are clean, but there are some that I get a little bit nervous because there's nothing that protects what's in the component from, containing something that's antimicrobial. And I've seen bad things happen. I've never created a clean brand, but I have seen and heard about too many little minor horror stories that I just don't want. However, I think that as you get older, I think, you have, for me, yes, I want my skin to look good, and I want to make sure that I feel good when I go out, and I want to be able to put my makeup on and feel, you know, I don't wear a lot of makeup actually. I stopped wearing foundation and things like that, but um like I think as you get older, the more, for me anyways, the more natural I am, the better I feel. I don't want a ton of injections in my face or anything like that. It's just not how I choose to age. But if I had specific problems, I'll be honest with you, I would do, you know, I would address them. I've always said I never want to have my face cut open. And I've said that since I was, quite a bit younger. So it's just not something that I want to do. A lot of women, their first complaint is about their eyelids. Your eyes get smaller as you get older. It's just a fact of life. Droopy eyelids or creases within the eyelids, crow's feet, under eye discoloration, bags, all of those things are signs of aging, and they could be signs of other things as well. And I know women who have discoloration under here or creasing. It drives them absolutely crazy. Thankfully, I've never really had that. And but I think for the most part, people do. And but I want to, like the eye wand, for example, our eye lift wand has probably received the most press of all products. I mean, the neck wand. We
You could
received
feel
what?
you could feel it's I want to say it's almost like a tightening, but you can feel when you wear it.
Yeah.
Definitely. It makes it I don't know, and I'm not sure, excuse me, how it happens, but I definitely felt it's almost like a tightness to it.
Yeah. So an interesting thing that I just did, because we just filmed 8 hours of footage, so we're going to be running we're going to be running a whole infomercial on public television, but also running some ads at the same time on uh on television. Um mainly on news channels in prime time. I mean, it is an election circuit, so why not? But I think, like I don't, as at 57 years old, there should be a lot going on here that's not going on, but I use my eye wand every single day without fail. And if I don't use it, I almost feel now there's something addictive about it. Um, and it's patented. So we created a formulation, and we created an actual molecule, or a peptide within a molecule that is proprietary to us. So I don't know that anybody will ever be able to copy that formula, and I would have a real issue if they did. We worked really hard on creating that eye wand, and I did an application during the time that we were filming um, on a woman who had serious eye bags. Like, I mean, they were very, very, very pronounced, discoloration on top of them, and also various other problems on her face that I addressed. But what I did first is I applied the eye wand where she had creasing and her eye was drooping down and closing. And underneath, I really went at the under eye bags, like over and over and over again. I could see them changing. My COO was standing about 5 feet away. He could see everything changing in front of our eyes. So I got very excited, and I never do applications. I did this, while they were filming for the purposes of her reaction on TV, but probably my reaction was more interesting than hers at the time because she couldn't really see what was happening. And then afterwards, I could see that her eyes were opening. I could see that her bags were disappearing. And then I still had the discoloration that I could see. I took out the liquid facelift wand, which is our newest SKU. And that's the only SKU that we have that comes with a refill cartridge, one, because then we say, you should really change your component just for safety purposes. And to keep your actives, they're active, I guess. but I really started to use it, and it has several applicators on it. So the antimicrobial balls, there's several of them on the liquid facelift wand. I got rid of all of her forehead lines, her crow's feet, and then I actually started to go at her discoloration right here, which I've never done before. I just thought, I'm going to try it. And it all went away. And I asked her, and she had really severe puppet lines that were pulling her chin down. Everything went away across her lip. I was able to sculpt her cheekbones. It was so much fun to do that application. So I was giddy on camera. I was like, wow, look what's going on. I said, look in the mirror. I said, I can't believe it. And so she was so happy. And I asked her to go home and not wash her face. It was at the end of the day. It was the last thing we filmed. I said, have dinner and then take a picture. I just want to see how you look. And I took her before picture, like that. The people who were filming actually took some befores of her, and I put it right against her after. And it was unbelievable that from her first application of those wands, everything had changed. So, and I know that the cumulative results at 14 to 17 days are even more significant. So that's that kind of stuff, getting the unsolicited testimonials from customers who say, like, I've literally tried every eye cream on the market, and I can't believe what this has done for my eyes. And like, we get novels sometimes. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I love
I
stuff from
love it.
celebrities when they say, like, I love your product. And I typically will, send them a nice little care package and say thanks and hope that they film something for us, or regardless. It's fun.
Well,
That part of the business is really fun.
and it's great when something works and you feel that you're helping, others with whatever the issue is.
Right.
So I think that makes a big difference. It's a different type of reward. Now, I remember as a little girl, this is something that it's one of those memories that you have that just doesn't go away. I remember looking at my grandmother. Maybe it was my great grandmother actually. It was my great grandmother. I remember looking at her. She had aged significantly, and I remember crying when I looked at her. I know this is crazy, but I
Good.
said to my mother one day, crying, I don't want to get old. I don't want to get wrinkly. I had this fear. And I guess I don't know, it maybe just seeing her sort of her wrinkly skin, and it just I felt fearful, and I still sort of carry that with me, that memory. It's like so vivid. Do you ever experience like fears of, getting older, and like do you
Well, I don't think any of us love the experience of aging, and having to, every time you have a birthday, you get to the point where you're like, after
Mhm.
50, you may think like, oh, I don't really care to, announce that it's my birthday and that I'm, my next birthday, I guess I'll be turning 58. But to be honest with you, I think aging is a gift and the alternative is much worse.
I
Um,
love that.
and the gift,
Celebrate life, right?
well, yeah, no, I mean, unfortunately, we don't think that way and we don't think about it every single day. But, my daughter's getting married this fall, and
Oh,
yeah.
congrats.
So, I mean, and I'm not just the mother of the bride, I'm her matron of honor. So I
And
guess
you look amazing.
it's sort of irrelevant to me because her and her 20, women, girls, there's so much more young women. They're so much more savvy these days in terms of beauty products and in terms of aging, not aging, but like in terms of what they want to put on their face and how they want to do their makeup. They all go to Sephora, Ulta, or wherever they're shopping, and or they'll come to me for some I Smell Great fragrances and things like that. And like they do their own hauls, and then they all compare. They have like a friend group and they all share what they bought like during a specific sale or whatever, whether it's Black Friday or Cyber Monday, whatever it may be. And then they all swap, what they think is amazing, and they share it and they all go out and buy it. And that's, to be honest, that's how brands really, what's what brands have to focus on now. If you're focusing on a younger demographic, for me, I want to talk to the consumers that I know are repeat buyers. I know who is in our like who our top 20,000 customers are in a large database of over 500,000 women, plus over certainly well over 1 million people have used our products. However, those top 20,000, I want to have a conversation with them. I want to create a community because everybody wants to belong to something. I think if it's something positive where you can actually not like assess what would be best for them or tell them how to get the best benefit from a product. Like our Neck Wand XL, if somebody has a double chin or really a lot of laxity here because they're getting older or because maybe they've had a lot of weight loss recently, whatever the case may be, the Neck Wand XL has technology in it that was created at Harvard quite a while ago that allows your skin to trigger irisin production, which is a hormone that your body produces when you exercise. It all makes sense. Our lab created that for us. It's proprietary. We own the formulation, and it melts fat topically. So at 17 days, we've seen people send in their transformation, their journey using our wands. And when somebody's melted, so much extra fat that's sitting underneath their neck, their chin, and their neck, and within their neckline, and they're so happy. Or the original Neck Wand, which can completely reverse sun damage in the décolleté area, that those transformations and that imagery, let's face it, the people, if you're getting those kind of testimonials from your customers, you're doing something right. Because the human nature these days is to be really hypercritical and very negative. I'm not interested in people writing me a letter and saying, well, this doesn't work, I want my money back. Okay, here you go. Here's your refund. As long as it's within the return period and all that. If I get an empty component back and they've emptied the actual product and they're trying to fool the brand. I mean, I've been in this industry long enough to know what's going on. I mean, I'm not the person that makes these decisions. My point is just simply, it is not human nature to write strong letters, strong reviews to companies that aren't made public. You have companies, the larger brands that are owned by the big strategics, hire people to just sit in a room and write negative reviews about the smaller brands, the independent brands, all day long. Just bots writing negative stuff. And you know what? We've learned to deal with most of it or just to ignore it, because I don't know that people necessarily read that much or really care.
Can't feed into that negativity, that's for sure.
Well, I'd rather
Now,
rely on the beauty authorities like Vogue, like Allure, like Prevention, like Harper's Bazaar, like, People, like, I mean, and I'm sorry if I missed any of the big magazines. I don't, but we do get a lot of press, a lot of television press, and a lot of, what used to be in Style just wrote a big feature article on the brand. But that's all very organic and authentic. And, the fact that Allure said, that we've cracked the code on aging, or, something about how an eye, like, so they said that what we were, claiming was an understatement. Like, when the beauty authorities are saying that about your brand, I don't think you get better than that, period.
absolutely. Now, we've talked about a little bit about aging, about beauty. I've learned that beauty has different meanings, and there are different levels of beauty. There's just so many layers. What does beauty mean to you?
Well, first of all, there's inward beauty. And quite frankly, you could be the most beautiful woman in the world in terms of your facial features and your symmetry and all of that, and have big, huge lips and a perfect big smile and a perfect little nose and big, big eyes and all the things that, we consider, I guess, the standard sort of
Mainstream.
measurements for describing physical beauty. But if unless you have beauty in your heart, unless you have beauty, um that sits top of mind, unless you have, like I always say, you can look at somebody who you think is not that attractive, but get to know them and find out that they're a beautiful human being, and suddenly you see a lot more beauty in their outer beauty. And the
Comes
same,
from the inside out, right?
I believe that, and a lot of it
Absolutely.
is, yeah, I mean, it's about your belief system, it's about your moral code, it's about your value system. I really truly believe that that's where beauty begins, especially in the world today. There's so much
Yeah,
negative. It's like
absolutely.
off the charts.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that I love to do at the end of interviews is share a quote, mantra, piece of advice with our community. And I wanted to ask you, what is your call to action for women who may not be feeling their best or feeling beautiful right now?
Well, I think the first question is to ask yourself why. And if it's an external issue, I can certainly help. But also, I think if you think about the pandemic as an example, where people were isolated and in lockdown, being Canadian, that went on quite significantly. Um, our products did help make people happy because it gave them the opportunity to actually use something that it empowered them to actually use a product that made them just feel better about whatever their issue was that was bothering them, that they couldn't go see their derm for, and they couldn't go see their plastic surgeon for, and they couldn't go see their injector for. And even if they weren't having those things, they could buy something and it still helped them feel good or feel better about whatever was happening in their lives. I don't necessarily have a universal message about what to do about feel more beautiful, because I think it depends on, what I think there are specific issues that we as women have to endure and I guess, manage, whether it's weight management, whether it's hair and making sure your hair is shiny and beautiful, or making sure that your makeup application is right, or, that you're not wrinkled. And I don't know. I think the expectation on women, especially women over 50, is a little bit unrealistic. And I think that, like I really prefer the way I look today to the way I looked, let's say, in I don't know, my 40s. Like I feel more comfortable with myself, if that makes sense. And I
It
think that
does.
that comes from wisdom, from age, and from,
Embracing who you are too, just loving yourself. I think you hit the nail on the head. You said, the first thing is ask yourself why. It starts with you.
right,
And it's really not the external, it's inside. So I
100%.
think
I mean, if you feel good inside, you're going to radiate that positivity and that beauty on the exterior. I don't care what you look like. It doesn't.
absolutely. That is so true. And that's the perfect way to end this episode. Beauty or beautiful or beauty starts from the inside out. So, Randy, thank you so much. I want to make sure that everyone knows how to find you, how to find SBLA Beauty. Please share with us how we can do that. I mean, I already have some, but
I'm
but
happy
please
to
share.
send you more, but SBLA.com is our URL. And if there's any questions, I mean, info@SBLA.com will answer any questions. Any questions that are meant for me will come to me. I will do my best to answer. I get a little swarmed, but I always do my best. I do try to talk to the consumer as much as I possibly can.
Thank you. Thank you for creating this product. Thank you for being here and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, loves, for joining us on this episode of AW Confidential. Talk to you soon.